Well, hello. Guess who again? Sid Thompson here with another hockey interview from my hometown. Former Roseau Ram, former St. Cloud State Husky, Fargo Force. Also played a couple World Juniors, won a goal with the World Juniors, and finished up in the pro career a little bit in the NHL and then the minors. I'm talking about a young man out of Minnesota, won a state tournament in Roseau back in '07. Some phenomenal statistics here. We'll bring him on here. I'm gonna surprise everybody. I'm doing the decades. So I'm doing 60s we did Don Ross, 80s we did Paul Brott, now we're in the 2000s. We're going to goalie union. We're sticking with the goalie union. We're one of a kind. Michael Lee, welcome to my pod. Good to see you.
Yeah, thanks for the intro, Sid. Always nice to catch up and talk some goalie. I was joking with you that you're gonna have to rack my brain a little bit on what it was like to play goalie, but I'm sure we'll remember.
Absolutely. Well, if anything, I mean, I've been the best goalie, but I sure could talk a good game. So we can talk about it for sure. So I'm gonna, kind of go into it just like I did with the other guys. I started doing this with growing up in Roseau. There's a couple things that a lot of big tradition, but it all starts in the youth programs. This facility right here, I don't know how much time you spend on a North Rink. I know I did a lot and a lot of pickup games, and of course, Old Memorial. Just the facility, I mean, it's a tradition. I mean, some of the youth coaches. Let's talk about that when you played, squirts moving on to Pee Wees. And I asked you who your coaches were, and there are two infamous, famous ones, and Dickie Johnson and John Winslow. So, any stories about playing for those two coaches in the youth program in Roseau? What can you
Yeah,
tell
I
me
mean,
about those
just what a
experiences?
special place to grow up, obviously, right? And we were talking a little bit before this on, my group might have been one of the last groups to kind of have really those all-star youth coaches, going up from squirts. We had Dave Wenslauf and then Dick and John Wenslauf and Pee Wees, and then in Bantams even having guys that, spent a combined, 3 decades in the NHL, and Aaron Broughton and Butsy Erickson. So just talk about a good group of people that, help kind of mold my age group of guys and into good human beings, and obviously all of the hockey knowledge they have too. And it's probably a part of the reason, or one of the bigger reasons, that we had so many guys around my age kind of play hockey at the next level.
Yeah, because some of those teammates, I mean, I look at your teammates, and I mean, yeah, someone on it, whether it be Division One, Division Three, whatever. I mean, you look at Curdy Weston, going up in high school. I think he was a senior year or sophomore. Won on Division Three and won a national title there. So that's pretty successful. So that's pretty amazing to have that happen. But when you were coached by Dick, and then I know the one thing Dick always, when I graduated and I lived down in the cities before, I moved back to help a little bit, and Dick always still had that mentality about goaltenders. God, gosh darn goalies, if something went bad. Did Dick ever get on you anytime? Because I know he did with me more than once.
Oh, I'm sure he did. I don't know if any memories, stick out. One funny thing about him is just, you remember Burcraft drills, all of the skating drills, and obviously we did them as goalies too. And that's something that I coached a little bit after I quit playing, and while I was still playing too in the summers, having goalies do some of those skating drills and helping them with their footwork. Those were kind of fun things to bring to some of those sessions.
Absolutely. I mean, I was at the rink last night here. It's winding down in Winona. They have a woman came in from California, kind of like Nancy Burgroff did back in the day when she started up in Roseau, working with these skaters and particularly the goalies. And I know footwork now. Back when I played, I just started to go down, but once I went down, I wouldn't get up. But the footwork is so important now. I mean, the quickness side to side. It's amazing how quick these guys are, and feet skating skills. You know, they usually said, "Well, let's put the guy who can't skate the best back there." That's not the case anymore. We're good athletes, right?
Yeah, they are. And I mean, they're only getting better and better as athletes. Like I said, just coaching afterwards, it was fun to see. Even, from my generation was probably kind of the first generation of goalies that really kind of played that butterfly style. And, we learned it growing up, but now, all the kids are, talk about technique and footwork, and, they've got it from the time they start putting the pads on. So yeah, it was a lot of fun to work with some of those college guys when I quit playing, and other kids that I've maybe helped out a little bit here and there.
So on that note, I want to ask you something as a youth, looking up and kind of emulating, or who was your as a goaltender? Who do you say I want to be like him? I know those guys looking. I want to be like Mike. But who did you
Yeah.
look at and say, I like that guy. I like his style. I'd love to be like him. Did you have a
Well,
player?
I think it was probably Patrick Waugh first.
Well,
And I don't know how happy or unhappy my parents are that I won the battle on being goalie, but I'm sure it started, with the gear and seeing him and his fire and competitiveness. And then, when just remember when I was a kid, it was Jake Brandt was,
yeah,
kind of somebody that I really looked up to, being as good as he was at Roseau and then going on, to the next level too. So yeah, there was definitely influences and yeah, I won the battle to stay in the nets. And it was fun. I mean, what a fun position to play.
yeah. You're the center of attention there. I mean, we're the last line of defense, right? So everybody knows when we do well and when we do bad. But now in the Bantams, you went from Dick Johnson and John Winslow up to the Bantams, and you just mentioned something that I don't think too many communities can say. Although you see more and more of it, like with Kurt Giles coach for 99, he's been there for 25 years. But you had Butsy and Aaron, I believe you said, as your head coaches at the Bantam level. Just talk about them coaching you and the players. I mean, how did that really? I mean, you can't talk back to a guy like that because they know a thing or two about the game, right? But you said 3 decades combined. So how was that experience playing under those two guys as your heads?
Well, I think at the time probably it's just normal, right? Like
Yeah,
they live in the community. I think as you get older, you appreciate it more. And especially as I have young kids now, and all the time that you see just with one kind of starting to play hockey that these people put in to help coach. Just imagine all of the time and effort that they put in, that they didn't have to. They obviously weren't paid to do this. Think about all the early morning practices they came in and ran for us, and the weekend tournaments. When they had kids of their own, they were grown, of course, right? But that's still a lot of time and a long season for them to put in that effort for us. So I think as the years go by, you get to be more and more appreciative of it. And obviously all of the hockey knowledge that they pass down to us, and yeah, I mean that's just part of the special community.
absolutely. And you mentioned all the hockey knowledge. Well, I tell you what, USA Hockey still has to have them go through those modules, even though they got more knowledge in their pinky than any one of those guys teaching those modules. It's kind of crazy, but that's a whole different topic about it. And we'll bring up USA Hockey because you were participating in a couple junior tournaments there. So I just had to throw that out there because being a youth coach here, I did all that myself, and I kind of remember that saying. Back in the day, I remember Aaron and Butsy coaching up there, and they still had to go through modules. I do, so it didn't make me feel so bad. So let's talk about moving on. Obviously, but I do have a story about that Bantam team. I think it was a New Ulm. I think I know. I do remember you did play in a state tournament, and I went and watched you. And I know there was a little tough. Occasionally we let in a goal or two. We don't. We're like, I wish we would have had that one back. And unfortunately, you lost that game. And I remember your dad. I think he took it worse than you. Well, Terry, he didn't come out of the hotel room. Like I was down in the room where people socialize as adults. And I'm like, where's Terry? So finally, I think I talked to your mom, and I said, he's in the hotel room. So I picked up the phone and I said, "Get down here! It's just a game, right? It is just a game, but I'm pretty serious. I think he took it worse than you losing that game. So, but you got it back in the state high school tournament. So you probably don't remember that. But any thoughts on your dad and how and your mom watching you play goalie? I mean, in instances like that. I mean, were they? I watched Donnie Johnson's mom. I don't think she ever watched the game. She stood underneath the bleachers because she was so. Oh my God! How were your parents when it came to you playing?
Yeah, I don't remember that story, so that's funny. I'm gonna have to give them a hard time now.
Yeah,
But no, I mean, I probably just feel bad for them that I had to play that position and stress them out. But no, talk about as supportive of parents as you could ever ask for as a kid, and just a great childhood altogether. Even extended family, grandparents. I'm sure there's a lot of kids around that have the stories of mom and dad giving them a hard time in the car on the way home from the rink. That never happened once with
good.
me. They're just
That's awesome.
supportive, and all they ever asked of me is to give your best effort, and that's all you can do. And what a great life lesson for everything, right? Not just hockey.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's the one thing I can't say enough about what you just said there about your parents. Just the game's done. They know what they did. Don't be talking to them in a ride back. Because usually our rides back home from games weren't just a few minutes. Like the closest was Warroad. Most of them were like an hour, 2 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a lot of John in the air. It's like, I appreciate hearing that. So, um, your dad had him work at Polaris, by the way. Did he ever let you ride a sled in the winter? Or we kind of, no, 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 you're not doing any of that. We don't want to get you hurt because that's the one thing being up north. I know growing up in Roseau and Polaris there, were you able ever to take advantage of that? Or you said, no, let's lay low on that. I'm just curious.
Well, that's actually another funny story to bring up. So I give him a hard time about that too, because my whole childhood and even through college, he worked for Marvin's for I don't know if it was 25 years. And then of course I grew up and I'm out of the house and on my own, and then he goes to Polaris and starts getting all the toys, right? So so I give him a hard time on that. I'm like, where was all this when I was a kid? This would have been a blast, but that's just the way it works out. And I'm sure part of it was they're spending all their money on me and my sister and all the away tournaments we went to, and they deserve it. So he's got a good gig now. We get to take advantage of it when we get back up north. And I think my wife's gets a little nervous with the kids on all the machines, but that's all right. We just put a helmet on them and they'll be fine.
There you go. Can't coddle them. Got to let them experience a little bit.
Yeah.
So, well, I'm going to throw up a picture here, and I want you to, well, I was going to say, remember this guy here? Look at that back. Look at that back. How many years ago?
A lot of hair.
Hard to believe it's, yeah. No different. And then, of course, here's the team one. That squad there, coached by Scott Oliver. I mean, you had a wagon of a team. Obviously, you came on there. You played the 12 games, came in and .7 something goals against. Phenomenal as a sophomore, taking over the starting job to win the title against Grand Rapids. Just can you talk about that experience moving from Bantams and then stepping in as a sophomore? I mean, did you just? I mean, you always want to be that starter, but as a sophomore, you say, "Hey, I'm going to take this position. I'm going to take that." You got that attitude. You seem pretty calm and cool because there's different types of goaltenders, different types of people. They're either really intense or someone's like very stoic and cool as cucumber. Did you have that mentality? I mean, I kind of see that in you. You always were that calm.
Yeah, I don't really know. I mean, I know that we had. I remember. I don't know if it was 2 or 3 senior goalies when I was a sophomore who were all good, and I don't know. It probably just seemed normal. We were just playing, and of course, that's where I wanted to be. But it's funny that you bring that picture up. So last weekend was the boys state tournament here. And I just randomly searched on YouTube for our just Roseau hockey state tournament and found our championship game. So I ended up watching it last weekend, and it was fun to see. You forget about all of those players that you just showed on that picture, and what a team, right? Like Aaron Ness, obviously, watching that game, and he was just miles better than everybody on the ice, both teams. And you forget about how good he was in high school, and he's still playing, right? And other guys too, like Sam Carr. I think he was on the ice at any time Aaron wasn't, it seemed like. And then, talk about depth I think we had 3, solid lines that just kind of rotated, and it was fun to see. You forget about a lot of those guys and how good that team was, back then. And the other thing that I thought was funny is they had a couple of guys from the 90 team in one of the intermissions. And I think it was like 17 years, right? Since that team. And I think now it's been about 17 years since our team. So it was like the same timing to just kind of see it. And they talked a little bit about kind of things they remembered. And it's crazy. The years go fast, and that was a long time ago. And it seems like a long time ago and doesn't seem like a long time ago at the same time.
It's just amazing how, things can just go in a flash. You look back and wow, it's hard to believe. Like I interviewed Paulie. It was 40 years ago that I was playing with him in high school. 40. I mean, I know it just goes back so fast. So on that note, when you talk about that, I want to put up a video here, and I just want you, it's a minute long. Maybe I should have cut Clay out in the beginning, but just listen to this. I'm going to have it overlay. I'm going to take this off the screen, and you can take and watch this and just tell me your emotions once you get to the end of this when it happens, because it's pretty cool to hear and see them talk about it. So one moment here, and we'll bring it up, and you'll know what I'm talking about because you just talked about watching it.
A minute to go. We want to take an opportunity here to thank all the people have helped us out here over the last 4 days. Our producers, Dennis Silva, Steve Johnson. Our directors, Pat O'Connor, Bob Rossborough. Our statistician, Jeff Mordhorst, right over here to our left. Boy, Lou, has he been great the last 4 days? We couldn't have done this without him.
More than days, years.
Jeff Mordhorst does a great job. And all of the talented people that have worked hard. A lot of long hours here the last 4 days. A lot of talented people on our Channel 45 State Hockey crew. And thanks to you, job well done. 25 seconds to go. 5-0. Excuse me, 5-1. Roseau on top. They're going to win their 7th state championship. This is their 31st trip to the state tournament. That is a record. An ongoing record for the Roseau Rams. A proud hockey tradition up there. And they're going to celebrate in the Northland again here tonight.
You said you just watched it last week, but I just want to throw in that last minute, hearing Clay and Lou talking and the jubilation. You're throwing up your mask, everybody's throwing up. Just getting to the pinnacle, being able to, to win the title. And as a smaller school, and it was an all-Northern final, mind you. That was another cool thing about it. I know there's a picture. I don't know who you're hugging, but I just see this one here. It's like just the excitement and we did it, man. We did it. And what can you tell me about that just the memory of being a state title tournament, small school in the tournament, winning the AA? I mean, that just doesn't happen every day.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably like, I said before, I think it just felt normal for all of us because we were just in it and, we're kids. And I'm glad you didn't show. There were some interviews after the game that really made me laugh we were just so young, right? I think I was one of them and Landman was another one. And I can't remember, maybe Sam Carr was the other, but that gave me a good chuckle because man, we were just so young. And but no, I mean, what a cool memory. I'm obviously really lucky to do it. Like you said, not many people get to have that with the group of people they grow up with, and especially in a small community like ours. So just really cool.
Just the emotion when I watched that and watched, like you said, last week I watched it the other night and just seeing Lando. Well, Landy was crying and just, man, it's pretty cool. And just to have and Sam Carr talking about, this is a little bit more exciting than the golf tournament. A little bit more people there. And how about him shooting the puck, man? That kid had a hard shot as a D-man. Sammy shooting that. He was pretty.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things, you just forget how good all of these guys were. Like he was incredible just in that game. And I'm sure that's just how he played all the time. Same with the rest of the guys. Another one you might appreciate said is there are some good clips of Coach Oliver. I think in between interviews and after the game, and I was clipping them out and sending them to some of the guys, and we were all getting a good chuckle out of it. But just good memories. Obviously, again, great coaches through high school too, with Coach Oliver and Andy Lumbum and Bill Lund. Just all the time and effort. Again, I think all those assistants are unpaid positions, so that's a lot of volunteer time that they spend with us, and obviously helped us turn into the team that we were.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jim Lumbum too. I should say Jim was on staff too. So talk about all the experience, right?
Hey, you can't forget Flash. My goodness, Flash, and I'm sure he'll do a show.
He was my teacher too. So sometimes you just remember him as a teacher, and you forget that he was our coach too.
Good old Flash, what a character. So you mentioned Coach Oliver, and you think about that. That's quite a story. Talks about the coaching capability, because he never played hockey. He was a CFL football player, and still coaching in some shape or form, I'm sure someplace, but he's involved with the Great Plains team for the whatever they have for the HPA performance teams and that after high school, and over East Grand and Crookston. I mean, can you talk a little bit about that, and then we'll jump into the next level? But just playing for a guy like that, pretty intense. I wouldn't want to make him mad. Like I saw some of those clips too, but Coach Oliver, I mean,
talk about one of my favorite humans in the world, right? And not just, coaching, but again, just molding us when we were, such a, pliable age, into good people to do the right thing and, give their best effort. And, it's funny how it trickles down. So I don't know if you know his son, Nick, at all, Sid, but
Yes, yes.
Nick, my age, and played together at Fargo, played together in St. Cloud after. And then he's coaching now, and he is just like the apple, fell directly underneath the tree from that perspective. And talk about one of the, best coaches I've seen. And keep your eye on him. He's going to have a long career coaching, and, he's just got that motivating ability and, connects with the players. So it's fun to see.
Well, it's awesome to see. And that's the one thing you mentioned about Coach Scott Oliver and coaches in general that are good. It's not about the win and loss. Granted, we all love to win. We hate to lose. But it's about what we make that student athlete into after the sport is done. And that's, I think you're talking about. I think Scott did a good job in that with his son. And now you're right. I think he's where's he over? I forget where he was, Wisconsin?
Yeah, Nick's in Wisconsin now. Yep.
Yeah, that's right. He's coaching with Hasty. I used to scout for Hasty back in the day.
It's an all 2-1-8 coaching staff. I like to give him. You've got a Crookston guy, a Red Lake Falls guy, a Roseau guy now. So they're keeping it all 2-1-8, Northwest Minnesota.
That's pretty awesome.
The only bad thing is it's Wisconsin, but what can you do?
Hey, well, but yeah, we won't go there. But I miss the old WCHA days. So going from there, then you went to put on this jersey here, the Fargo Force. And had a pretty good career there, too, when I look at the stats playing for Fargo. Who was your coach at Fargo that year when you were playing there, by the way? I don't remember who the coaching staff was there.
It was Dean Blaze. And
Dean was still there? Oh, geez. My bad. How could I have not thought that?
Yeah. So, I mean, again, what a great opportunity to play for him. And we actually opened up that rink in Fargo. So some cool memories, too. It was an expansion team, and the rink wasn't done at the beginning of the year. We played the first month and a half of the year on the road, and we'd come home on Sundays and literally sweep the rink to try to help it get ready for opening night and get that construction dust out of there. But I mean, I don't know if you've been to that rink in Fargo. Beautiful. It was fun and exciting. The town kind of buzzed about the Force all year as a new team, and yeah, we had a good year. A lot of young players, but a lot of guys from that team too that went on and had long careers, after college even.
Yeah, well, I look at the stats: 48 games played, 2.40, 0.918 GAA, three shutouts, and then you were 26-15. And in the playoffs, 2.64 and a 9.21 save percentage. That's going to give most teams a good chance to win a game. I would say it's pretty good stats there, the juniors, and right now they have a heck of a goaltender from the evil neighbor down east from Warroad, and Hampton Slakinski. He's ripping it up. So he might be the next Michael Lee to move on and wear an NHL jersey or pro jersey someplace. So that's pretty cool. So I know when you were in that team, you played in two World Juniors. One was like was it the U19? That's the younger one. I think.
Yeah, they have I think it's called a Junior A tournament. So it's a lot of guys from the USHL, and then the junior leagues in Canada that aren't major junior. But yeah, that was a lot of fun. I just remember my dad and my grandpa drove up to, I think it was Canmore, Alberta, for that one. And good team won that one. And then obviously, the next year with Dean coaching the actual World Junior team.
Yes, yes.
I got pretty lucky with the staff selection. And he obviously had a lot of trust in me, and talk about a wild ride that tournament was.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just looking at that year. And then, you didn't finish the gold medal game, but your stats are pretty damn phenomenal in that tournament. What do you play? 4 or 5 games in the 20 and 2.5, 9.08. So not bad.
That championship game might have been the only championship game in that tournament where all 4 goalies played.
That's right. Yeah.
It was in Saskatoon. The building was obviously just, shaking
Not so.
the whole game. And I don't think I made it too far into the second period. And then it was Jake Allen, obviously, for Canada who didn't make it too much longer past me. And then, yeah, we were lucky to squeak that one out in overtime. And yeah, pretty cool.
And then I got to show up here. Let's show you a picture of this. Look at that there. There's that jersey wearing that dark blue USA. I mean, what a feeling to be able to represent your country, Olympics or juniors, and win a gold medal. So what? You didn't finish the game. You played a big part of that tournament, and you're back up at that game. Who came in and made a huge save. Campbell was a tandem. That was a hell of a tandem. I think Campbell's still playing. I think he's with the Oilers system. And then going down and John Carlson, the look off and his top shelf. That's a goal that, man. I got to throw something up there. I want you to talk about this because there's a little something from that tournament too that's kind of repeated now by USA teams when they do well. And I want you to, because you were part of a locker room celebration. And we'll play it here. I'm gonna bring it up. I'm gonna take us out again and bring up, and I want you to talk about this because I thought this was interesting. Well, give me the back end on story after we listen to it here.
USA, my attitude, USA. Oh, mama, don't you cry. Oh, mama, don't you cry. USA hockey is do or die. USA hockey is do or die. Take a hockey stick in my hand. Take a hockey stick in my hand. Go on off to a foreign land. Go on off to a foreign land. Play said I'd be a star. Play said I'd be a star. USA hockey will go very far. USA hockey will go very far. Take the Gatorade in your glass. Take the Gatorade in your glass. We just kicked your. We just kicked your.
I don't know how long that played. It was kind of choppy, but were you able to hear it?
I'm glad you did the PG version. That's
yeah, they did it. So who was that singing? I forget who was singing that, and how did that come about? Is that something that he planned prior to? I'm going to do this in the locker room if we win.
Yeah, I think that was Danny Christo. No, I think that's something that. So a lot of those guys on that team came through the National Development Program, and I think that's something that came from them. I don't know how far back it goes. That might have been the first time it was recorded and leaked to the public. But no, I mean, cool memory. You see, obviously, everyone knows it's coming now if the U.S. team has a good tournament. So you see it, the traditions carried on. But the other thing is just looking at some of those names on the back of those guys' jerseys, talk about a team full of guys that had, a long NHL career, and some of those guys are still going too. So talk about another good team that I was lucky to be a part of.
Yeah, I was just looking at that roster, Mike, and you had, Derek Steppen. And it's funny because Paul, when I talked to him, he goes, yeah, I guess it's a sign we're getting old when we see second generation, because he played with Brad Steppen. with him, and he said, and that's Derek's dad, I believe. Palmieri with the Islanders still playing. Schrader played in the show. He's playing overseas. Chris Kreider, I mentioned Carlson. Tyler Johnson. Gardner played in the NHL for. I don't know where Jake's playing after he's retired. Zucker, Cam Fowler, and then your tandem there, Jack Campbell. So a pretty darn good squad there. Nice little roster you had there on that World Championship team, the gold. So
yeah, good team. I mean, there's a lot of good players in that tournament too. I mean, I'm sure if you look at Canada's roster, it's probably the same, number, if not more, guys that are still playing. And Finland, Sweden had a bunch of good players. So yeah, cool tournament to be a part of.
I look forward to it every year when it comes on, during the holidays, just to turn on the NHL Network and see the coverage and hope that the U.S. will take and win, because it was all about Canada now. It just shows how far USA hockey's came, and you were part of history again. There's that you're there. The excitement, just like winning a state high school tournament, you're winning a gold medal for your country. So from there, you moved on after college there at St. Cloud, moved on to St. Cloud, and juniors at St. Cloud, playing for Coach Bob Motzko. Those years you had some good teams in there, some good players in that. You were captain one of the years too. So the experience is playing under Motzko. And how was Bob as a coach? I mean, going from Blazer to him, going from Oliver to Blazer. Was Motzko, I don't know Bob personally, I've met him a few times, but it seems like a little bit calm, cool cat, but did he have a little intensity to him as well as a coach, just like the other two?
Oh, he's got just as much fire as any of the rest of them. But no, great person, great coach. I was lucky to be on his staff as a goalie coach for a couple of years when I quit too, or when I retired from playing. But no, nothing but good memories of St. Cloud. Met my wife there, obviously, so that's a good cherry on top of everything. But yeah, good players, good teams. Good assistant coaches. We had Eric Root and Mike Gibbons and Steve Johnson at one point. So yeah, it was a blast. Wish we could have done a little bit more with a couple of those teams. But that was the last days of the WCHA, which was, the league I wanted to play in growing up. That was the pinnacle, right? As if you can play in the WCHA, you've made it. So it was fun to be a part of that. The last couple Final Fives, which were always a fun tournament to be a part of.
Oh, they're bonkers.
St. Paul. So yeah, good memories. Lucky to be a Husky.
Like St. Paul doesn't need enough business there in the month of March with the state hockey and all those other tournaments they have. Let's throw in the WCHA Final Five and make everything crazy. And it was usually around St. Patrick's Day too that they had it. So yeah, it was pretty fun.
Yeah, so there was a couple of finals on St. Patrick's Day, which was always a fun walk from the hotel to the rink.
So, some of the coaches you talked about, you mentioned, that assistants, and I think they're all coaching still. Gibby and Johnson, Reuter. I think Reuter was the head coach. He was with the girls for a while at St. Cloud too. Didn't he move from the boys to the girls?
Yeah, I think he's in Sioux Falls now.
Okay.
But yeah, he went back to CC for a while, and yeah, he's talk about another great guy, and somebody that was played a big part in my recruitment there. But good family. He's got a kid now playing for the Gophers. So
second generation.
Great people. Been really lucky to have great people around me kind of my whole hockey career.
Awesome. When I did stop a few pucks with my head every now and then, so I had my train of thought lost, but I was going to go back and I was going to talk about the going to St. Cloud. Was it, and I mentioned that Paulie too, I asked him that about, was it the U? For you, was it St. Cloud State, or who else did you do any other visits, or in the back of your mind say, I really wanted to play at St. Cloud? What other schools were you looking at the time?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to remember, but just I was pretty dead set on wanting to play in the WCHA, and I think it was just I remember going on a visit to St. Cloud and it just feeling right, and I'm the kind of person that doesn't like to mull over decisions, and it felt right, so I was like, yeah, let's play here. This feels like it's the right fit.
Good. I know there's another Roseau player going there who's committed, Noah Ernest, I believe, and been a few others. I know Meyer, Roscoe, Steve Ross played there, and Monk's daughter, Stacy Monkman's daughter was there. She's the head coach of the girls back home. So some good players, and spread out a little bit. You usually think of the Gophers and you think of UND.
Yeah, and they're set up with an incredible staff again, right? Nick Oliver, a good friend of mine, coached there for a couple of years with Brett Larson, who's the head coach that took over after Bob. And talk about another great guy. He played at UMD and coached at UMD for a long time. But another awesome coach. I actually it felt terrible that I had to stop volunteering as the goalie coach. I did it before we had kids, and we started having kids, and it was time to not have to drive up to St. Cloud anymore. So that was hard not to keep helping him and being part of that program. And but yeah, it's in a good place, and it's fun to keep tabs on him.
It's always tough leaving the game, so I'm sure involved in some shape or form still too. Watching, or sooner or later your kids will be playing the game. I'm assuming, and hopefully they'll be playing the game, carrying on that tradition. But so moving on from there. You get the call. I mean, you were drafted by the Coyotes, if I remember right, by the Yotes. Then you move on. You were on I think I watched the game where you were sitting on the bench for the Yotes when they played at the XL. Was that the first game you were part of? Or maybe
it was, I think, the first game of the road trip. Yeah, I was lucky. I got to have a cup of coffee in the big leagues. Didn't get any game action, which was fine, but it was a fun ride while it lasted. Everybody that asked about it, I'm like, yeah, the private jets are nice. The Ritz is nice. call it the Never Hungry League. The spreads in the hotel are nice. But yeah, that was, a fun time too. Spent most of my pro career out east, actually in Maine. Their American League team was in Portland, and my rookie year kind of split between the East Coast League and there. But yeah, it's a different beast when you get into the pro game. But it was fun. I mean, good teammates again. There's guys that I played with in Portland that are still having nice NHL careers. And it was fun, training camps. Mike Smith was the goalie in Arizona at the time. Always had us over to his house, for a meal during training camp. So yeah, good memories.
Yeah, I was looking at that. You had not too bad career in the minors. They're hopping back and forth from Gwinnett in the Coast League and then the A. So back and forth between those two. Your first year there between those two, I mean, not bad save percentage there, Michael. I mean, you were .915 with Portland and .911 again, and under 3 in the minors. That's pretty good. 2.72 and 2.35. And then the next year, I don't know. It looks like you had a little bit of a setback there at 13, 14. Were you injured? Because it looked, I only see six total games. Am I correct in that? That second year, is that when things started to.
Yeah,
What happened there?
when things kind of took a turn. I mean, the injury problems kind of started in college. I missed some time my junior year, and then, yeah, I think I made it through my rookie year unscathed, and then setback. Ended up spending my 3-year deal. I think I spent a year and a half of it on the IR. So unfortunate, but it was still a great experience, and lucky to get a little taste of what the NHL was like as kind of part of that whole thing. And we had good setups down in Gwinnett, which is in the Atlanta area, and then in Portland, where my wife and I ended up living there for about 2 years. We kind of stayed through the summer. She had a job out there, but made some good friends that we still keep in touch with. So yeah, it was, the injuries were unfortunate, obviously, but the whole experience was still great.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking that was kind of the beginning to the end, so to speak. Looking at that when your numbers got down and the games were kind of getting down there because you finished up in 14, 15, 2 in the A and then 17 in the coast, excuse me. And I could tell by looking at that the numbers weren't Michael Lee numbers. So how was that? I know it's always tough to get away from the game of knowing that, hey, I think it's time. To move on to life after hockey. I mean, it's always tough to hang the pads up, but that's one position that you have to be 100%. You can't play through, pain. And because you're constantly up, down with the style. We'll talk about that a little bit, but the mindset of moving on, transitioning from hockey into the real world, how did that go for you? I mean, everybody's different. I mean, did you know right away what you were going to do after hockey?
No, I had no idea. I was lucky. I kind of fell into a job in the medical device world right when I was making that decision of whether to keep trying to work through it and see if my body will cooperate or move on. So that was one lucky thing, and I think the other lucky part is I got to help out with St. Cloud for a couple of years on their staff. So I still had the game. And I think that definitely helped my transition because, like you said, it's hard, right? That's all you know for kind of your whole life. And I was still young at that point, and making another big life transition. But it all worked out great. I mean, we're in a really lucky spot. I live in Edina now. My wife's from here, and she's got family close, and so we're in a good spot. I found a career that I really enjoy, and the hockey helped for a while, and now it's just kind of in dad mode. So it's just kind of trying to keep the house from starting on fire, and then rinse and repeat the next day.
Being a father, yeah, family. I might have to go back and edit that short section there for the people that back home that hear where you're living now. Although I had a PO box, I was offices in Edina, Bloomington area, so I'm right there with you. But you went from one green and white area to another green and white. So if you stay in that community, they'll be wearing green and white. Put it that way. So I know we're getting close to that 45-minute round a little bit more. I don't want to go too much longer, but kind of winding down. I do want to discuss with you because being a goaltender in the way that 17 years ago winning a state title in high school. Now, the styles from when I played to when you started playing to now, And you know what? Before I do, hold on a second. I got a little surprise for you here. I tried to get something. Hey, look what we got here, Michael. Look at that, Mikey. Hey, Tyler.
Tyler,
Can you hear
How's
us?
it going, guys?
aren't you supposed to be working right now?
You know what? I got 20 minutes off here before the kids come back, so I got a little time
Okay.
to chat with you guys.
Awesome. Well, I wasn't surprised I was talking about Mike, so we'll cut back on that, talking about the goaltending after the fact here and get
I
back
like
into
that.
this because I was hoping Curdy could make it on. I wanted to have a couple of your teammates from that championship team, but Kurt unfortunately snapped me and said, I got to be able to make it. And I don't know about Landy, but Landy, good to see you.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. It's fun to be on. You've had some fun podcasts that I've seen so far, so fun to be on.
I was talking to Mike here about it, the playing days, and I threw up the state tournament. He just watched it last week, and he said he'd kind of text some of the guys, but talk about this guy here and playing with him and winning the state title with him. I mean, you were crying after that championship game. That's how emotional you were as a group. So, talk about this character between the players and playing with him all the way up from youth.
I'll tell you what, it was pretty fun. I wasn't lucky enough to have him in that every year youth, as I was playing a year ahead of him in terms of the age level. We were in the same grade, but he was always a rock for us. The second year we had a couple of really good tenders. We were so fortunate, and to have Mike back there, it gave us a level of confidence where, if there was a 2-on-1, there's a good chance that it might not even get to him because Aaron was that good at playing D. But then, of course, having Mike there, I mean, you think of the career that he had for us. I mean, it was unbelievable, and we were pretty lucky to have him back there for us when we needed him.
Awesome, Mike. What do you have to say about that character? He said nothing but good comments about you, and I concur because you had a hell of a career. But what about this young man? I mean, I saw that interview afterwards, just the emotions of him crying, winning the title, and what do you have to say about him as a teammate?
Oh, I mean, he's always been one of my best friends. It was a good surprise, Sid, that I had him on. But no, I mean, what a great guy, and proud of him for carrying on the tradition in Roseau and being back there and raising his kids there. And yeah, Landy, I was telling him how I was sending some Coach O snippets around last weekend when I found that game. So yeah, we have a lot of shared memories. It's always fun to get together, and life looks a little different now because Tyler has 3 kids. I got 4 kids, but yeah, a lot of shared memories.
You guys you got a starting lineup there with one extra on the bench between you two.
Yeah, it's
pretty good.
pretty fun.
At Christmas, we had all the kids out in the sports center, and Jason Fabian was up too, and he brought his 2 kids. So it was a little different than life looked 15 years ago when we would all be back up for the holidays.
Yeah, we used to have a pretty fun little kind of cookie competition that we would do. We did that in high school. You continue in college, and I suppose before you know, we'll have our kids probably having this kind of cookie competition. But yeah, it was fun getting the kids together and skating all together on the ice, and we were watching the Holiday Classic together. So it's a good time.
Awesome. Well, Landy, I know you're in class there. You said it a few times. I see somebody pointing at you, so how much time you got, but
yeah. I just want to pop in and say hi. So, but yeah, I was, like Mike said, I was so fortunate to have such a good guy behind us, and we were fortunate at the time to have a lot of good goalies too at that time. But Mike obviously put in the effort to get where he did and to have the career that he had, and it couldn't happen to a better guy. So pretty blessed to have him as a friend, and looking forward to when we can connect coming up here this summer again. So, but yeah,
I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me. You guys have a good rest of the show.
Hey, have a good day in class.
See you
Make
later.
sure that those little rascals don't get to you. No detention
Yeah,
slips,
see ya.
okay?
All right.
Take care.
All right. Sounds.
Yeah, I was going to have a surprise at the bottom of the hour. I was hoping Curdy would have been on at the same time when we're talking about the high school tournament, but I started to throw Landy in there. I mean, that's
No, that
one
was
thing
great.
about hockey, I think, Mike, and then we're kind of winding down, is that the memories and the relationships and the friendships that are just stick with you forever. I mean, I go to the state tournament, bump into people, and like I was talking to Paul, we talked about stories playing youth. I think it's just different than any other sport, just the kinship, the room, right? The room.
Yeah, I mean that's so right. The longer you're away from the game, obviously, when you're in it, all you think about are the wins and losses, and your performance. But anytime you talk, like we've talked now for I don't know how long, you're not talking about wins and losses. You're talking about the memories with the people and being in the room and competing together. So yeah, it's a special sport for sure. We were lucky to have a great community to grow up in that really revolves around it. So yeah, all good things.
Absolutely. So two more things then before I let you go, because we were talking about, I'll go back for Landy surprised you, and I'm glad he did because I was hoping he would. About the goaltending styles changing from when I played stand up, kind of started the butterfly, to now, and what it's doing for the physicality of the body. I mean, the kinesiology, the physiology, because you can speak to it. I got two new hips. I mean, I'm the $6 million man now. I may not be able to strap the pads on, but I feel a hell of a lot better than I did before the surgeries. You probably are going to have it, but you see Brodeur after he retired had surgery. More guys, it's a really difficult position played with the style. Is what are your thoughts on this style with the RVH, the quickness? I mean, it's tough on the body. I know you went through it and probably deal with it a little bit now too with some pain and stuff. Can you discuss that and kind of give your thoughts on the style of goaltending now?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's just a lot more awareness of kind of how it wears your body out now, even from when I was in the game. So the training is just so much different. I mean, it was still, in my time playing, it was still a lot of lifting heavy weights and, Olympic lifting and things like that. And it's totally transitioned to, the friends of mine that are still playing, their summer training looks a lot different than it did when I was playing. It's now about, just body maintenance and injury prevention. And so, yeah, I think there's a lot more awareness of it. It's definitely hard on the body, but I think people are so good at taking care of their bodies now, and kids the same way. The training starts so much younger with injury prevention and things like that. So yeah, I think people now are super lucky to have all those resources and just to know that it's out there.
Awesome. Well, I'll leave it with this. We're going to wind down. If you had a young goaltender, whether it be Diana, Roseau, Bloomington, wherever, come to you and say, Mr. Lee, what advice can you give me as a goaltender? Or let's just say, take goaltending out of it. Just a young athlete, but we're going to key in on the goaltender. What would you tell? What would you tell a young kid who wants to play the game as a goalie or play the game in general? Advice? What advice would you give them?
Wow, a deep question, Sid. Really
I try to be deep.
just compete and enjoy it. I mean, that's I think as a young person, that's all you can really do is compete and try to get better, and enjoy it, and not worry too much about the wins and losses as you're young. I hope that kids still keep playing multiple sports too. I think that's so important.
Good point.
Not just for your athletic ability, but just for your body too, to help develop yourself as more of an athlete. So yeah, those are a couple of big things, but the biggest thing I think is just to compete and enjoy what you're doing. If you're not, it's not worth your time.
Absolutely. The love of the game, enjoy it, play it because you love it. And if you want to get better, you'll do what you have to, but you love the game. So, any regrets looking back on hockey or playing?
No, it's hard. It's hard to, right? I was
Yeah.
lucky to have a lot of success, and obviously had great teammates. You just saw Landy there, and all the way from when we were in tiny mites, and then great coaches going all the way through. So yeah, I think everything worked out just like it was supposed to, even if it's not the way that I had envisioned it. But I think that's just part of life. And yeah, it was a good run. It was fun to kind of jog my memories with you today.
Well, they say everything happens for a reason. You're one of very few. I know. I think I saw a stat in NHL Network. There's only been like 7,000 players in the entire world to step foot on an NHL ice or part of a team. Just think about that, Mike. You're part of that. Whether or not you played a game, you're part of a team. To say you were in the NHL, 7,000 in the entire world. So that's part of an elite group. So I commend you on that. That's kudos, man. So it's been been like I said, great interview, good talk. I'm just talking hockey. Um, Last just comment, free form. Any comments or thoughts before we part ways today? Before I put this up, any last comments?
No, this was cool. Thanks for inviting me to do it. it was fun. It's always fun to catch up, and I'm looking forward to it. I hope you get a bunch of other, Roseau guys or Northern Minnesota hockey guys on and kind of hear their stories. It's always, everybody's got great stories. That's another thing about hockey is they're out there, and there's just, so much time you spend together over the years that, and especially once you get talking, the memories kind of start coming back, and you remember certain stories maybe that weren't at the front of your mind. So yeah, it's been fun.
I'm sure there'll be some after we hang up here and finish the recording, and they'll pop in your mind. And some stories that we don't want to talk about in public, right? The ones that stay in the room, right? There's always those too. So I got a few of those. But Mike, no, I thank you so much. I've really been appreciated. Appreciate you coming on. One of the best to come out of Roseau. Great career, and hopefully we'll cross paths again. And I thank you so much for this. And I'll post this sometime today on Facebook. So and forward it as many people as possible. So if you got any friends, have them take a look at it, and we'll go from there. And maybe in the future we'll have you on with some other guys like the rest of the teammates. Maybe do a group chat of some sort. So, but thank you so much, Mike.
That was good.
You have an
Sid.
outstanding
Thanks a lot.
day. Roseau Rams forever, green and white.
All right. We'll talk to you soon.
Goal Union.